Welcome to episode 13 of the PhD Breakdown, where today I'm going to speak about why you're not getting a PhD scholarship. Now, I will do some more videos on PhD applications and dealing with rejection. If you're interested in that, please subscribe to the channel. Okay, so the key question today, why are you not getting accepted onto a PhD program? I'm going to speak from experience here. Before I got my PhD scholarship about 6 years ago now, I was rejected about 30, 40 times. So I'm going to give you my perspective, what I've learned on reasons why you're probably not getting accepted. Number one is criteria. And if you look at the successful candidate for a PhD scholarship, they usually tick every single box in the advert. So they have a relevant master's degree, research experience in a certain area, and expertise in a certain type of statistics. You may tick some of the boxes, you might tick one or two of them, but you don't tick all of them. You need to ask yourself, when you're going for a PhD, are you ticking all that essential criteria? Now, if you don't tick all of it, I would still apply. There's no harm in going for it, but if you're rejected, you can look back at the advert and say, well, maybe I didn't tick everything that was on the advert. Second of all, you've got competition. That's just the reality. And you may have a time where you tick every single box. It's very frustrating, but lots of other people are going for that same PhD. And it's not very helpful when people say to you in their feedback, you got down to the last couple of people, or your application was strong, but we just had so much competition. It's frustrating, but it is quite simply one of the reasons you don't get a PhD. It doesn't help, and you just need to keep learning, and this is why videos like this and going on Google will help you understand why you're not getting a PhD and what you can do going forward to beat the competition. My next point is feedback, and you don't always get feedback. In many cases, you'll get an email saying, we can't give you feedback because so many people went for the PhD. This is where you ask yourself, will I be proactive here and get feedback from somewhere else? This is really what you need to do. I can't stress this enough. And you need to spend time doing some self-reflection, going on YouTube as well, looking at Google, understanding the process of applying for a PhD and standing out from the crowd. Really, the best way though is to speak to people one-to-one. Go and speak to PhD students who are successful, ask them what they did to stand out, and speak to lecturers as well. Ask them questions about their experience of a PhD. You can say, well, how long did it take you? I've gone for 5 PhDs now, I've got none of them. Is this normal? It is, by the way, it's normal, but ask questions like that, and don't be afraid to say, here's my previous application from a few weeks ago, do you mind having a look at it and giving me some feedback? Don't be afraid to ask that question to lecturers. Next, you can be too narrow in your search for a PhD. And my PhD topic was mental fatigue in football. It wasn't my dream to study this for a long time, and I applied for PhDs in all sorts of areas. So other aspects of football, but also rugby union, cycling, weightlifting, I applied for all sorts of PhDs. And you need to ask yourself, how many PhDs are advertised in your area? And should you branch out into something else? That's not saying do something that you're not really that interested in so you can get a PhD, but is your area just too niche to the point where 1 or 2 PhDs advertised a year and the odds are really stacked against you? My final point is being too local in your search for a PhD. And this is my beautiful hometown of Leicester. I was quite happy to move away. I went to Germany and Australia to go and do a PhD. Was it hard to move away? In some ways yes, in some ways no, and it's not for everybody. Some people will have their own reasons to stay close to home. They have a long-term relationship or kids, or they're looking after a sick relative. But you may have to increase your radius a little bit if you want to get a PhD. Now, that doesn't mean going to the other side of the world like I did, but let's say, for example, you live in London and you say, I will only do a PhD in London. You're really restricting yourself from lots of other opportunities if you just spread your wings a little bit more. Okay, I'll finish off now with the PhD breakdown. First of all, rejection is normal. As I said, I was rejected about 30, 40 times. That's not really the norm, but it can happen, sadly. It's really key that you learn from your applications, and I was rejected a lot, as I said, but I was always proactive in learning why I was unsuccessful and what I could do to be successful in the future. And finally, be open-minded to opportunities. I was keen to go abroad to go and do a PhD. It meant that much to me. It's not a badge of honour to go abroad, doesn't make it any better, but even just moving 40, 50 miles away from home can be a big step, but it can be worth it to get the PhD that you really want to do. Okay, thank you for watching this video, and I'll speak to you again soon.